Welcome to part 5 of the Willys pickup project. This episode is going to focus on motor mounts. Now, if you look at the passenger side, you can see the mount is there, but it's in really bad shape. And in fact, as we look closer, we're going to find out that it's not even attached. But as we move over to the driver's side, you're going to notice there is no rubber mount. It's bolted directly to the frame. So that's a bad thing, and it needs to be fixed. I think the reason they did this is because the motor plate on this engine is not the correct one for this pickup. As we know, this engine actually came out of an M38A1, and that was a whole different setup. So instead of putting the right plate on, what they did was just improvise. So I want to get that sorted out and get it set up the right way, and that's going to require some fabrication. I've got my new mounts, and I think we're going to start by just picking the engine up. Once I take some of the weight off, I'm going to remove this bolt. Okay, we should be able to just lift it up now. Normally you would have to remove the bolt on the underside of this mount, but this isn't even connected. This is just sitting in here, so when I start lifting it up, this is going to separate on its own. One other item of note, normally engine mounts go in like this, and then that would drop into your engine plate. But here's the exception. On these pickups, the passenger side, you can already see it here, it mounts in upside down, attaches to this plate, which then hooks to the engine plate. The other side, based on the information I was able to find, the other side goes in just like this. So one goes in upside down and that side goes right side up. So I'm going to pull this apart and I'm going to put this one in its place. We'll drop it back down in there. Okay, here's where we're at so far. I've got my engine hoist supporting the engine, and I've got it hovering just a little bit above where it needs to land, or actually I think I'm just about there. And I started by making sure I had this centered. So if I measure in, I've got 13 7/8, and I've got the same measurement on both sides in front, so that's good. I put a strap on this side just to hold it in. And then on the back I did the same thing, just measured from these bolts across, and I've got the bell housing centered. It needs to come up and back, but I'm not worried about that at this point. I just wanted to make sure that the engine wasn't angled one way or the other, so I know it's nice and straight in the frame. Now the next thing I wanted to do was just keep track of where I'm at as I go on this thing. So I've got an angle finder here. So I've got it sitting on the frame. I just picked what looked like a level spot here. I'm going to zero it out. So it doesn't matter if it's level with the ground or not. Once I zero it out, everything is relative to this point. Now what I'm going to do is put it up on a spot on the block. And it looks like I'm only about a half a degree out right now. And if I'm not sure which way it is, I just kind of pick it up and tilt it. Yep. So this side's got to come down. Let's see, how are we doing? Okay, we're a little over half a degree, but this side's got to come down just a little bit. Now the next thing I did is I got my mounts in. So I've got this mount in on the passenger side, and I had to flip this plate around because it needed to move up a little, or no, it needed to move down a little ways because it was hitting up in here, wasn't lining up. But with it down there, it looks like everything lines up where I want it. So that side's good, and that's kind of my reference point. Then I went ahead and mounted this other mount on, and once I get this leveled, now all I have to do is I have to build something that'll take me from this plate down to here. So it'll be an ear, something like this, only it's going to be on this side. Now I got one little problem here, and that's that this thing is interfering. So I think what I'm going to have to do is cut this off, and I don't want this on front anyway, so I'm going to cut this off so it clears, and then I can start working on this side. All right, so I've got that cut off. I'll finish cutting this part off once I'm all done with everything. This is really tough to access, but once this engine is out of here, I'll have an easy cut there, so I'm just going to leave that. It's out of the way for now. Now I can begin lowering this thing down and get it lined up the way I want it. Let's see if we can take a look at my, if you can see that, we're at about 3.5 right now. Start dropping it down till we're level. We're looking for a 0 there. Getting close. There we are, right there. Oh, take her down just a little bit more. Oh, I went over. We'll bring it back up. All right, that's it. That's the spot right there. That's where I want it. All right, now I just need to build a plate from here over to here. This is the plate that I'm going to make. So I just took some cardboard, fitted it in where I wanted it. I think I can probably lop some of that off, but I just want to get a start here. And I'm going to use some fairly thick metal, so I have to think about that as far as the distance from here to this center. I guess the other thing I didn't think about was maybe running it on the other side here to the outside of this and then across. That would probably give me a little more meat in here. So I think I might modify this and give it another try. Here's what I came up with. This is my template. That'll fit right over there. This will wrap around the front. I can weld that on there. And I can weld just a little piece here. And if it feels like it might move, I could weld a gusset in here just to give it a little more strength. Thought about something like this, but I'm going to run into clearance trouble. And the other side doesn't have anything like this either. I could also weld in another piece of metal right there to extend that down. That's maybe gonna work. But anyway, I'm gonna cut some metal here in this shape now. Here's what I've got. I actually ended up making it in two pieces because bending it was not gonna be an option for me. So, there we go. Got that one in there. Once we get everything positioned, this will go on here and I'll weld it in place. And then I should be able to lift this back off of here. But I first need to get this leveled again. Okay, I've got it welded in. I welded every possible edge I could see. So I think that's strong. It's thicker than the metal that was there. And if this appears to bend at all, I can gusset, but I don't think I need to. So let's get the mount back in and lower it down and see how we did. All right, we're within 0.1 degree, and that could be any variation in the frame and engine, and I know it'll settle, but that's perfectly okay with me right there. And when I look at this, see if this is shifted at all. We're just about 13 7/8, 3/4, 7/8, somewhere in there. This side is it's shifted a little bit to the right, but not enough to worry about. And I can adjust it too with these slots. These are just in here loosely right now. So I'm pretty happy with this. I think it's going to work out just fine. It's welded in good. I still have to put a nut on there. But now we have two proper motor mounts in this thing. Thanks for sticking around for part 5 of the Willys pickup project. If you haven't already done so and want to follow along, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. There's a link to a playlist on this series, and you can see all the videos of work I've already completed. So thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you next time.